3,000 years ago, in the river valleys of the eastern and central parts of what is now the United States, an ancient culture built great mounds to honor their gods and the dead. Over time, these mound builders moved south. They settled in East Texas more than 1,200 years ago. Today we call these descendants of mound builders the Caddo. The Caddo. The Caddo lived in clusters of settlements along the Red River near what is today Nacogdoches. Their community was arranged as a confederacy, or a union of people or groups who worked together for a common goal. The Caddo Confederacy protected settlements from attack. They also organized food for the whole community. The Caddo were farmers. Each spring, they gathered to plant clearings in the woods. They sowed corn, beans, and squash until every bit of farmland was planted. Groups of men traveled to the plains each year to hunt buffaloes for meat and hides. Caddos also fished the rivers of East Texas and gathered acorns, pecans, and walnuts from the forests. Caddo modified their environment and used natural resources to make shelter. The houses in Caddo settlements were shaped like cones. Framed with wood, each house was covered in mats made of dried grasses. Beds and chairs inside made them comfortable places. Several families might live together in the same large house. Today, most Caddo people live in Oklahoma near the town of Binger. In the 1850s, the United States forced the Caddo to leave East Texas and move to Oklahoma to a reservation. A reservation is land set aside as a place for American Indians to live. Nearly 5,000 Caddo, direct descendants of the early mound builders, live in the United States today. From the Caddo word for friend comes the name of our state, Texas. The Karankawa. Along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, south of the Caddo, lived the Karankawa. Although they sometimes dwelled in villages, the Karankawa did not have permanent homes. They were nomads. A nomad is someone who travels from place to place at different seasons. In the summer, small bands of family groups roamed inland, hunting deer, small animals, and birds. They also gathered wild plants. They took their houses, made of woven grasses and animal skins, with them. The Karankawa governed themselves. Each band had its own leader. In winter, the bands gathered into larger villages along the shore and on islands off the coast. Hundreds of people lived together in wood frame houses. Each village had its own chief. The Karankawa traveled the waters of the coast in dugout canoes, or boats made by hollowing out long logs. Whole families might travel in a single canoe with their belongings. They fished from the canoes, shooting fish with bows and arrows. They also caught shellfish to eat. Because they lived on the coast of Texas, the Karankawas were among the first American Indians to meet Europeans as they began to arrive. The Europeans fought the Karankawa for their land. By the mid-1800s, the Karankawa had died out from European diseases and from many battles with European groups.